The Paul Leslie Interviews.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you all to this woman, Champian Fulton. She's a jazz pianist and vocalist, and it's a great pleasure to welcome her here today. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
First of all, we have to acknowledge this fact. What an incredible name you have. Champian Fulton. Is that your given name?
It is my given name, yes. My parents picked it sort of out of a hat, really, but it is my given name.
I hope you thank them every day for that name. Okay, well, on that note, what was life like growing up?
You know, I always loved music so much, so I've been working on my music and performing and practicing since I was about maybe 8 years old. That's when I became very serious about it.
Tell us about your parents.
My mother's name is Susan. My father's name is Stephen. And my father's a musician. He plays trumpet and flugelhorn, and he played drums also when we had a band together about a while ago, 10 years ago or so. And my mother is a big supporter of the music and has always come out to a lot of our shows. So she's also a big part of my career and my business, but she's not a musician herself.
Your father, what is the biggest lesson, or not just lesson, just anything that you've learned from him as a result of him being a musician as well?
Oh, well, it's tricky to pick just one thing, since I've really learned everything. I've learned everything from him, certainly about music and about many other things in life, of course, too. But I think, you know, the best lesson maybe that I have learned is just the discipline that surrounds the music and the career, and how to stay focused and how to make sure that you achieve a certain level with your craft, so that even if you're tired or busy or jet-lagged or whatever, that you still can do a good job.
Tell us about the people you listened to that made the biggest impression on you.
Well, my favorite singer since I was a very little girl is Dinah Washington. And I fell in love with her music when I first heard her. I became completely obsessed, you know, getting all her records and wanting to know everything about her. I just always loved the sound of her voice. I loved the way she interpreted the song. I heard, you know, even to a certain extent, choice of material, although she recorded many, many things. But you can sort of tell which were her favorite songs by things she would do on live gigs and things like that. I always loved her. She's definitely the biggest influence. When it comes to the piano, I think Red Garland, for me, was one of my favorites when I was younger, and then I became very into Errol Garner a little later on. And those are two sort of my favorite people.
I was hoping you could tell the listeners about your friendship with Clark Terry.
Oh, of course. Well, my father was friends with Clark since the 70s. I met Clark when I was born, and he was just always around. He was always around, you know, since he was friends with my father. He was always around the house. I knew he was famous. I knew he was, you know, a legend, really. But I thought more than that, he was sort of like a family friend, a member of the family, really. And I loved getting to hang out with him, talk music, talk about everything, you know. And he was very supportive of my interest in being a musician when I was little. He took it very seriously and treated me seriously and with respect, which I appreciated, still do appreciate. He actually gave me my very first gig when I must have been maybe 8. It was his 75th birthday party, and they had a party at my parents' house. We were living in Iowa at the time, and he hired my band and I to perform for the party. I had a little quintet. We were all under the age of 12. And that was a big deal, you know, for me. We played, and after the gig was over, you know, he paid me, and he explained to me about being a band leader and how to pay your musicians and things like that. It was an important moment for me.
He seems like he was a very encouraging guy.
Well, he was definitely encouraging if he thought you were serious, you know, because to him the music was a very, very serious thing. I think he appreciated the fact that I, too, saw it as a very serious thing. And so then I think that made him want to be even more encouraging.
Our special guest is Champian Fulton. You have this album, Change Partners. I wanted you to tell us about the opening track, You Made a Good Move.
Yes, that's my most recent album, which just came out, I guess, was it earlier this year or last year? Last year, I think. We recorded it live while we were on tour in Canada. And the first tune, which is called You Made a Good Move, was written by a friend of mine and another jazz legend, a friend of Clark's as well, the great Frank West, who also happens to be from Oklahoma like myself. And when I first moved to New York, I became friends with Frank. I would see him all the time. And he was also very, very encouraging and very kind. And he used to play that tune every time I saw him. He loved that song that he wrote. He passed away about a year and a half ago. And I just started playing a couple of his songs and, to sort of honor him, think about him. And I was really happy that we were able to record that one.
Could you put it into words why the jazz art form is so meaningful to you?
No, yeah. I think that jazz has a way of healing people and making them happy, making them feel better, and of, sort of communicating good feelings between the artist and the audience, the listener. And to me, that's what I love about it, and that's why I love to be a part of it.
Wow, great answer.
Thank you.
Something that I think is interesting about you especially, I've seen heard where you've mentioned this in a couple of interviews, and I've read where you wrote this on your blog. You like to read about the lives of people. Like, for example, you said Sidney Bechet, more than just listening to his music, who was this man? And then you also said in this interview, this filmed interview I saw, you said it's important also to find out about the lifestyle. Talk a little bit about that. I thought that was very interesting.
Well, I do. I love to read autobiographies, especially autobiographies, and I really love to read correspondence, if it can be found, letters between people, and not only musicians, but of all sorts of people that I admire, from philosophers and authors, other creative-minded people, as well as some statesmen, great statesmen. I think, especially when it comes to finding out about being a jazz musician, that it's not just about notes on a page or music, about sounds that we're making. Like I said, it's really about, sort of the community and creating this good feeling for other people and also for yourself. And I think when you sort of delve into the lives of the musicians, you sort of find out about, how they did that, and also just sort of sometimes interesting and mundane facts about them that maybe don't relate so much to the music, but that are just interesting. But I think it's important to understand the community where you come from, and that's why I like to read about them.
Do you believe that roots or traditional jazz, swing music, all these genres, do you think that this is something that is going to survive?
Yes. Well, I do. I hope so, and I do think it will, because I really believe that the feeling of swing, which is present in the genres you mentioned, and also, in a lot of other quote-unquote more modern or contemporary artists, I think the feeling of swing offers something to the listener that cannot be found in any other kind of music. So I think because of that and because of the value of that, I think it will survive.
Martin Pizzarelli, the bassist, he wrote to me, and he said that you, along with Freddie Cole, are the best at interpreting standards, the best at interpreting the American Songbook. And you've gotten so many of these just incredible reviews from the New Yorker, all these different publications. What does it feel like, honestly, to have people say that you're one of the best?
Well, it's very flattering, of course, to hear it from Martin, since I've known Martin a long time and I respect him very much, the musician. It's always nice, of course, it's nice, and it feels good to have people say nice things about you. When it comes to the press, I appreciate it. I appreciate, just that the listeners, that they come to my shows, and that I see so many audience members again and again, and then I know that they really do like the music and that it really is doing something for them. To me, that's the most meaningful thing. If someone can come up to me after a show and say, oh, I was having a really bad day and I came in your show and now I feel better. To me, that's the most important kind of review that I can receive.
You are more impressed with making a personal connection to someone.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, because I think that's not only what is important artistically, but I think that's the way to sort of have a longer career. Because I think fancy reviews and fancy press looks good. It can be fleeting if you're not actually making a personal connection with your audience.
You've played a lot of very legendary rooms, a lot of venues. Is there a room that you've played that has meant the most?
I don't know. I've so many places. I mean, the first time I sang on stage at the Village Vanguard, and I sang with the Lou Donaldson's band, that was a big deal to me because it was the Vanguard and it was Lou, and that was very special. That was a very special moment. But many stages for me have those kind of feelings. The Jazz Showcase in Chicago, I felt the same way. I felt the same way my first tour to Europe. I think not every stage, but most stages, they can really have some lovely memories attached to them.
Do you think as a music artist, it's important to listen to a lot of different things?
No. Simple answer.
Why is that?
Well, I don't know what you mean when you say different things, because actually, I listen to music all the time, and I listen to a lot of music, but I listen to things that I like, which means the music is swinging. Mm-hmm. I listen to singers, but also to instrumentalists. I think it's important to be informed about the jazz language and the jazz history, but I don't think it's important to listen to contemporary music so much if you don't like it, or to listen to classical music so much if you don't like it, or things like that. I don't know how much variety one really needs.
What is the best thing about being Champian Fulton?
I think the best thing is that I'm able to do what I love and play music and travel the world, and I think really it's a very nice existence and a charmed life. I'm lucky to have it.
When you think about the future, what impression do you want to make on the world?
I really just want to make my music and to have people listen to it and enjoy it. And I think of the artists I most admire and that I most love, I think that's what they did. When I think about Louis Armstrong traveling the world and playing his trumpet and singing, and I think how many people he made happy, and how many, and that he was able to be a part of their lives, in that way, significantly, even if it was only through records or only through one performance, that he was able to sort of share his life experience with so many people. And that's what I would like to be able to do myself.
For anyone who's listening to this interview, just totally open-ended, what would you say to them?
I would say I would like to meet you, come to a show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so.
My last question. Who is Champian Fulton?
Well, she's a jazz pianist and singer who loves reading and swimming in the ocean and meeting people and enjoying life. I think that's a very simple answer, but I think it's true.
You just said a second ago, you said if you could say anything, you would say, come to a show. Well, I was listening to what you said, and I would love to see a show of yours someday. I haven't yet.
Good. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the website is champian.net. That's spelled CHAMPIAN.net. Mm-hmm. Champian Fulton, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you. It was a pleasure.